All right, so today we're going to be looking into Moringa tea. It's gotten pretty popular lately. Some people are even saying it's like a natural pharmacy.
Yeah, it seems like every other day there's a new miracle food or drink.
Right. But how much of that is just hype?
Well, that's what we're here to find out. Gotta separate fact from fiction.
Exactly. So to start off, I was reading about all the nutrients in Moringa. Vitamins, antioxidants, amino acids. It's got a ton of them.
Oh yeah, it's definitely nutrient dense. But the thing is, just because something has a lot of nutrients doesn't necessarily mean our bodies can actually use them all.
So it's not as simple as just counting the number of nutrients.
Right. It's kind of like having a pantry full of food.
Yeah.
If you only eat the same 3 things every day, you're not getting all the benefits of everything else in there.
That's a great way to put it. So we need to figure out if those Moringa nutrients are actually doing anything. Now, I also came across some stuff about Moringa being used in traditional medicine for like centuries.
Oh yeah, Moringa's got a long history in a lot of cultures.
So does that mean it actually works? I mean, if people have been using it for so long, there must be something to it.
Well, it's not quite that simple. Traditional use can be a good starting point for research. It can give scientists clues about what to investigate.
So it's like a starting point, but not the final word.
Yeah, exactly. Think about it this way. Imagine someone hundreds of years ago. They have a cough, and they drink a tea made with a certain plant. And their cough goes away. They might think, oh, this plant cured my cough. But maybe it would have gone away on its own anyway.
Or maybe it's something else they ate or drank, not the plant itself.
Right. That's why we need controlled studies to really isolate the effects of something.
Okay, so traditional use is interesting, but we need more evidence to back it up.
Yeah.
So let's move on to some of the specific health claims about Moringa tea. The first one I saw was about lowering blood sugar levels. That could be huge for people with diabetes.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So what does the research say about that?
Well, there have been some small studies that show Moringa might help regulate blood sugar.
Like what kind of studies?
For example, there was one study with 30 women. They drank a small amount of Moringa powder every day for 3 months, and their fasting blood sugar levels went down.
That's interesting. But 30 women is a pretty small group.
Right. We need larger studies with more people to be more confident about those results.
Okay, so maybe promising, but not conclusive yet. What about cholesterol? There are claims that Moringa can help with that too.
Yeah, there's some research suggesting it could have a positive effect on cholesterol levels.
Really? How so?
Well, one study suggested that Moringa might help regulate cholesterol in the liver and the kidneys.
Huh, interesting. Why is high cholesterol bad anyway?
Well, it's a problem when it oxidizes. Then it's more likely to stick to the walls of your arteries. And that can lead to plaque buildup, which can cause heart problems.
Ah, I see. So Moringa could help prevent that.
Potentially, yeah. Moringa's got antioxidants, and those can help prevent cholesterol from oxidizing.
So it's like it's cleaning out our arteries.
You could think of it that way.
I like that. But I'm guessing we need more research on this too.
You got it. These early findings are definitely interesting, but we need more studies to really see what's going on.
Okay, so another maybe. What about rheumatoid arthritis?
So Moringa has compounds that can reduce inflammation. And some people think those compounds could help with the joint inflammation that causes pain in rheumatoid arthritis.
So it's possible.
It's possible. But again, we need more research to say for sure. And even if it does help, it wouldn't replace traditional treatments.
So it could be like an extra tool.
Exactly.
Okay, now this next one is a big one. Preventing and treating cancer.
Yeah, that's a pretty bold claim. What's the science behind that? Well, there have been some studies, mostly in labs, though not in humans, that show Moringa might have anti-cancer properties.
Like what kind of properties?
For example, one study found that Moringa could induce apoptosis in cancer cells.
Apoptosis.
Basically, it's programmed cell death, so it's like the cells are told to self-destruct.
Wow, so Moringa is making the cancer cells kill themselves.
In the lab, yeah. And Moringa's compounds also seem to fight oxidative stress and promote a healthy cellular environment, which could help prevent cancer from developing in the first place.
So it's doing a lot of things.
It seems to be.
But these are all lab studies, right? Not in actual people.
Right. So while these lab results are encouraging, we need to see if they hold up in human studies.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so moving on. The next claim is about Moringa's ability to fight inflammation.
Right. We already touched on that a bit with rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah, but it seems like inflammation is a factor in a lot of health problems.
Oh, definitely. Chronic inflammation is linked to heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, all sorts of things.
So if Moringa can reduce inflammation, That could have wide-ranging benefits.
Potentially.
Yeah.
How does it work?
Studies have shown that moringa's compounds can reduce the production of inflammatory mediators in the body.
Inflammatory mediators.
Basically, they're chemicals that signal the body to start an inflammatory response.
So moringa is like telling those chemicals to calm down.
In a way, yeah, I like that. Okay, what about brain health? I saw some stuff about moringa being good for your brain.
Yeah, there's some interesting research on that too.
Like what?
Well, moringa is full of antioxidants, which we know are good for protecting cells from damage.
And the brain is full of cells.
Exactly. So those antioxidants might help protect brain cells from damage caused by free radicals.
Free radicals.
They're unstable molecules that can damage cells.
Oh, right. And that damage can contribute to aging and disease.
Exactly.
So moringa's antioxidants are like little bodyguards for our brain cells.
You could say that.
I like that.
And some studies have even shown that moringa might improve cognitive function.
Really? Like thinking and memory?
Yeah. And it might also affect neurotransmitters like dopamine.
Dopamine. That's the feel-good chemical.
Well, it's more than that. It's involved in learning, memory, motivation, focus, a lot of things.
Wow. So moringa could potentially affect all of that.
It's possible, but more research is needed to really understand how it works.
Okay, so lots of potential, but we need more evidence. Got it. Okay, last one. Kidney stones. I heard moringa can help prevent those.
Yeah, there's some evidence for that.
How does that work?
Well, first of all, moringa acts as a natural diuretic.
A diuretic?
It means it increases urine production.
Oh, okay.
So it could potentially help flush out the substances that form kidney stones before they have a chance to build up.
That makes sense.
And second, moringa contains compounds that may help dissolve crystals and prevent the particles that make up stones from sticking together.
So it's like a two-pronged attack on kidney stones.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing you're going to say we need more research.
So you know me so well. We need more studies to confirm this and to figure out the best dosage for preventing kidney stones.
Okay. So lots of potential benefits, but more research is needed.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, what about the risks? Is moringa tea safe for everyone to drink?
It's generally considered safe, but there are a few things to keep in mind.
Like what?
Well, the material we're looking at mentions that pregnant and breastfeeding women should be cautious because some compounds in moringa, especially in the roots, bark, and extracts, could potentially cause problems.
Problems like what?
Like uterine contractions, or the compounds could be passed through breast milk.
So it's best to talk to a doctor before drinking moringa if you're pregnant or breastfeeding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It also mentions that people taking blood thinners should talk to their doctor before drinking moringa.
Why is that?
Because there could be interactions between moringa and certain medications.
So it's always better to be safe than sorry.
Exactly.
Now, I know some people might get a little carried away and start thinking of moringa as a cure-all.
Yeah, that can happen with anything that gets hyped up.
Right. But it's important to remember that moringa shouldn't be seen as a replacement for real medical treatments.
Exactly. It might have some health benefits, but it's not a magic bullet.
So don't ditch your doctor and just start chugging moringa tea.
No, definitely not.
It's about taking a balanced approach to health and talking to your doctor before making any big changes.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential benefits and risks, but how much moringa is too much? Is there such thing as overdoing it?
That's a good question, and one that researchers are still looking into. But from what we know so far, drinking up to 500 milliliters of moringa tea per day is generally considered safe.
Okay, so that's like 2.5 cups.
Yeah, about that.
But even then, people should probably start with less.
Right. It's always a good idea to start slowly and see how your body reacts.
Good advice. Now, last question. What does moringa tea taste like?
That's a bit subjective. Some people describe it as earthy, kind of like spinach.
Spinach tea?
Yeah, kind of. Others say it's more bitter.
Not sure I'm a fan of bitter tea.
Well, you can always add things to it, like lemon juice, mint, or honey.
Oh, okay, that sounds better. So there are ways to make it more palatable.
Exactly.
And if tea isn't your thing?
You can also get moringa in powder form.
Oh, right, and add that to smoothies or other things. Cool. So we've covered a lot of ground here. What would you say are the main takeaways so far?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that moringa is a fascinating plant with a lot of potential health benefits. But it's not a miracle cure.
Right. We need more research to confirm a lot of the claims.
Exactly.
So if people are interested in trying moringa, it might be worth exploring. but talk to your doctor
And
first.
and good advice. And do your research. Make sure you're getting moringa from a reputable source.
That's important. Well, this has been really interesting.
It has.
I'm actually kind of curious to try moringa tea now.
Me too.
We'll have to see if we can find some good quality stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, that's it for part 1 of our deep dive into moringa. We'll be back soon with part 2, where we'll be looking at the bigger picture, the potential impact of moringa on society and healthcare. So stay tuned.
Welcome back.
Okay, so we spent part 1 looking at some of the potential health benefits of moringa. Some pretty interesting stuff. But now I'm curious about the bigger picture. Like, if moringa really does live up to all this hype, what kind of impact could it have on society?
Oh, yeah, the potential is huge, especially when you think about global health and nutrition.
Right. Like, one thing that stood out to me is that moringa is relatively easy to grow, even in tough climates.
Exactly. That makes it a really valuable crop, especially for regions that struggle with food security.
Yeah. We hear so much about these superfoods, but a lot of them are expensive or hard to find. But if moringa is easy to grow and it's packed with nutrients, that could be a game changer for people who don't have access to a lot of nutritious food.
Absolutely. It could help address malnutrition and improve overall health in those communities.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And then there are the potential medicinal benefits we talked about. If those have proven to be true, what kind of impact could that have on healthcare?
Well, if moringa can help manage conditions like diabetes and high cholesterol, it could potentially reduce the need for expensive medications.
That would be huge.
Yeah.
Especially for people who can't afford their prescriptions.
Right. It could make healthcare more accessible and equitable.
And it's not just about replacing conventional medicine entirely.
No. It's about having more options and potentially integrating moringa as a complementary therapy.
Yeah, like working alongside traditional treatments.
Exactly.
Now, another thing I've been thinking about is sustainability. With all the concerns about climate change, it seems like we need to find food sources that are more sustainable.
Absolutely. And moringa fits the bill there too.
Right. It's drought tolerant. It doesn't need a lot of fertilizer. It seems like it's pretty good for the environment.
It is. And if we can figure out how to grow and distribute it sustainably.
It could be a model for other crops.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've been talking about all the good stuff. But are there any potential downsides to moringa becoming more popular?
Well, one concern is overexploitation.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, if demand for moringa suddenly skyrockets.
There's a risk that people might start harvesting it too aggressively.
Right. And that could damage the environment, and it could also hurt the communities that rely on moringa.
So we need to make sure that moringa is grown and harvested sustainably.
Exactly. We don't want to repeat the mistakes that have been made with other crops.
Right, where people have exploited the land and resources.
Right.
Another thing I'm thinking about is quality control. If moringa becomes a mainstream product, how do we know that people are getting a good quality product?
That's a valid concern.
There are already so many supplements and products out there, and not all of them are created equal.
Right. We need to have regulations and standards in place
Yeah.
to ensure that moringa products are safe and effective.
And that they actually contain what they say they contain.
Exactly.
So consumer education is important too. People need to do their research and make sure they're buying from reputable sources. This has been a really eye-opening conversation. It's amazing to think about all the potential moringa has, not just for individual health, but for the world as a whole.
It is. It's a plant that could have a real impact.
But like you said, we need to proceed thoughtfully.
Definitely.
We need to make sure that moringa is grown and used responsibly so that everyone can benefit.
Right.
And so that we don't harm the planet in the process. Now, before we move on, I want to bring it back to the listener for a minute. If someone is listening to this and they're thinking about trying moringa, what advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, I would say do your research.
Like we've talked about.
Exactly. There's a lot of information out there about moringa, but not all of it is accurate.
So how do you know what to trust?
Look for reputable sources, like scientific studies or articles from respected health organizations.
And be wary of anything that sounds too good to be true.
Definitely.
What else?
I would also say talk to your doctor.
Good advice.
They can help you decide if moringa is right for you. And they can tell you if there are any potential interactions with your medications.
That's really important.
And if you do decide to try moringa, start with a small amount and see how your body reacts.
Don't overdo it.
Right. And be patient. Moringa is not a quick fix.
It's about incorporating it into a healthy lifestyle
Exactly.
and seeing how it might benefit you over time.
Right.
You know, it's been fascinating talking about moringa from the individual health benefits to the potential global impact.
Yeah, it really shows you how much potential there is in the natural world.
Right. Like, we often look to technology for solutions, but sometimes the answers are right there in nature.
Exactly, and moringa seems like a prime example of that.
It's like, it's this gift that could help us with so many things, from nutrition to healthcare to sustainability.
Yeah, it really embodies this idea of interconnectedness.
Like, everything is connected. And if we can find solutions that benefit both people and the planet, that's the way to go.
Absolutely. It's not just about personal gain anymore. It's about recognizing that we're all part of something bigger.
And moringa seems to fit perfectly into that.
Yeah, it's got the potential to address so many issues. And in a way, that's good for everyone.
It's really inspiring.
It is. But we also need to be realistic. Moringa is not a magic solution.
Right. It's not going to solve all our problems overnight.
Exactly. It's a piece of the puzzle.
And it's important that we use it wisely.
We need to make sure that it's grown and distributed sustainably, and that the benefits are shared equitably.
So that everyone can benefit.
Right.
And not just a select few.
Mm.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this conversation?
That's a good question. I think the most important thing is to stay curious.
About moringa.
About everything. Don't just accept what you hear at face value. Dig deeper, ask questions, be critical.
So don't just jump on the moringa bandwagon blindly.
Right. Do your research, learn as much as you can.
And then make an informed decision.
Exactly.
That's great advice.
And it applies to so much more than just moringa.
It's about being an informed and engaged citizen.
Yeah. It's about taking responsibility for your own health and well-being, and for the health of the planet.
Well said. Well, I think that's a perfect note to end on. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on this deep dive into moringa.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you learned something new, and that you'll continue to explore the amazing world of plants.
There's so much to discover out there.
Until next time, stay curious,